every single day. Great is your faithfulness. God, I pray this morning that you speak right to the heart. Lord, that you penetrate, convict our hearts in ways, draw us close to you. Let us feel peace like we've never felt before. And joy, unspeakable joy that just bubbles up that we can't even control, Lord. God, ways. Let us see you and feel you in a fresh way. God, we want to do this. God, I know you are completely prepared for what is about to happen. Every single step, every single minute, every single second of our lives. God, I completely trust you. Have your way with me, Lord. We give you all the praise and all the glory. Have you ever? Man, I'm super excited. So this morning, we started this series completely. The only one who's completely anything is Jesus. And, well, completely good. And we are going to dive in today to completely prepare. I love that song, you know, where it says, I sought the Lord, and he heard, and he answered. You ever sought the Lord, and he heard, and he answered? That brings so much excitement. Sometimes it brings so much pain prior to the excitement. This last week, we were at a conference in Orlando, and it's a lot warmer and greener there, just saying, but couldn't bring it back. Sorry, guys, for all you who want it. My sister wants the snow, so. But God has a unique way of showing up, and he shows up individually and uniquely in and through all of us. And it was a pretty awesome week with the team, some of us on the team here, and I sought the Lord, and he answered. He answered in ways that I didn't even know that I had asked him. He heard my heart's cry, and he kept showing up, and he kept answering, and he kept answering, and he kept answering. And it was pretty cool. And so we're going to dive into some of that this morning. When I think of completely prepared, do you know somebody who is like completely prepared for anything? I'm going to tell you about my friend. So we were in Orlando this week, and I told her I was going to use her as an example. She's unforgiving me for that, guys. So my friend Becky is, that girl's prepared for everything. We were sitting there and we're drinking. I'm a little bit of a water snob, I'll just tell you. Like, I like well water. I drink well water. I don't really like purified water. I prefer spring water. Like, take all the chemicals. When you drink water all the time, I drink water all the time. I'm like, pick up a city water, and I'm like, whoo, all I can taste is chlorine and that or something, but it's not, I can taste something in there. But I'm like, we don't have, we're drinking, so we drank all our water bottles, and we're like filling them up, and I'm like, this water tastes funny. And she's like, oh, here's some like lemon. She's like giving us lemon packets. I'm like, where did you even get these things? They're like crystallized lemons. Anybody heard of that? And then it's like she's got like rain, like umbrellas for rain, like anything you could think of. I'm not even kidding you. I turn around half the time, and she's like, here's a water, and here's a snack, and here's a thing, and here's a this. And you thought about it, she had it. Like, and the girl literally, I wish I could show you. I should have told her to bring her back. She like had a suitcase like this big and a backpack that was it, and it kept coming out, and I was like, what? She's so prepared, Mary Poppins. I was in awe of it. I'm like, she is awesome, and so she thinks through things, and she just has the things that she might need, and all the people she loves and cares about around her might need. It's such a beautiful thing. And so we're going to dive into this today. Have you ever heard this? Actually, we're going right into John. So we're going to start with John in the very beginning. In John 1, it says this. John 1:1. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God. The Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone, the light that shines in darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. I love that. His life brought light. So if you don't know, the Word that they're talking about in here is Jesus. So Jesus was in the beginning. He existed. He was with God. He is God. Was God. He exists in the beginning. He created everything. God created everything through him. And he brings life and light to everyone. And in the darkness, it cannot extinguish it. The name Jesus is the name above all names. This is going to drive me crazy. I lost my glasses in Orlando also, so anyways, side note. So I'm not very prepared, which is what the message is about. It's too funny. Anyhow, God, you have a funny sense of humor. All right, so here we go. Do you know what the word prepared means? It means you're made ready to use. I can't see you with these on to do this. This is real time. This is what we do around here. We're doing this for real. So being prepared means you're made ready to use. You're ready to do or to deal with something. When you're prepared, you're ready for something. You're ready. Or you're made ready to be able to be used. And when we see, like, in the beginning, Jesus was part of creation. He was through him. So God was prepared and used Jesus from the very beginning of time. I heard this thing one time said, and it says that for being prepared, it's like you be ready, so you don't have to get ready. Becky was ready, so she didn't have to get ready. Me, on the other hand, we're like polar opposites. I'm like scrambling around. She's like ready. And thankfully she likes me a little bit and has a lot of grace. And anyways, but God was prepared from the beginning of time to use Jesus. Like, Jesus was there in the beginning of time. And then in John 3, we'll flip ahead to John 3. John 3:16 says this: "For this is how God loved the world. He gave his Son, his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. God sent his Son into the world not to judge the world, but to save the world through him." I looked this up in different translations, and if you look it up in the Passion Translation, it says, "God did not send his Son into the world to judge and condemn the world, but to save it and rescue it." He didn't send his Son, Jesus, into the world to judge and condemn us, but to save us and rescue us. The King James, let's go back to the King James Version. God sent not his Son into, this gets me all tripped up. God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. God sent his Son to the world not to condemn. He didn't come here to judge us and tell us that we're condemned and that you're awful people. He came so that you might be saved. You might be rescued. So we went all the way back to King James. Now we're going to jump forward to, this is the Gen Z Bible. So here we go. Yo, peeps. God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only Son, so anyone who believes in him won't get wiped out, but will have life that goes on forever, Jesus preached. God didn't send his Son into this world to hate on it or anything, but to save it through him. I love that. He didn't hate on it. He was saving it through him. This Gen Z Bible is pretty cool. Like, and now I'm not dishonoring the Word of God. Please hear me. Like, these things, when I look at it, I read it up, I'm like, okay, these make sense. They're legit. I had to do a little bit of digging in the Gen Z talk. I'm just gonna say, because I was talking to my son, and I'm like, "That's sick," and he's like, that's sick. I'm like, "What do you mean it's sick?" I'm like, "You're sick. Like you can't. Like you're sick. Like you're puking sick." He's like, "No, that's cool." I'm like, "So I'm sick?" He's like, "Nah." I'm like, "Wait, I'm cool." I didn't even know he was in the room right now. I think I'm pretty sick or whatever. I'm just gonna say cool. I'm pretty awesome. I am who I am, and that is the daughter of one true king. So I don't care what he says. All right, so we're gonna jump ahead to. In that, though, you see the whole way that God set up the world with Jesus. He was completely prepared from the very beginning to send Jesus. He created the world through Jesus. And then he sent Jesus, his son. Why? Because he didn't hate the world, because he loved the world, because he was saving, he was rescuing us. And I think so many times we get so stuck in these places of what's the wording and what's the things and what's the ways and all the things. And we're like, oh, and we get caught in shame and anxiety and all these things. And those are not of God. That's not what he came. He came because he wanted to save us, because he wanted to rescue us. He came with this love, this agape love, to meet us right where we at. And as I studied and I was thinking through this, how do we explain Jesus and how he's prepared? And I think the best message to tell is let's just get right into John 4. So I'm going to read this Gen style verse because I think it's pretty cool the way that it works. So pretty sick. So like the big man upstairs, the Lord caught wind that the Pharisees got word about Jesus, scoring more disciples and baptizing like a boss, even more than John. But Jesus himself wasn't the one doing the baptizing gig. It was his squad, Jesus wasn't doing the baptizing. It was his disciples. Did you get that? It wasn't Jesus, it was his disciples. So Jesus pieced out of Judea and bounced back to Galilee like he had places to be, man. And he had to pass through Samaria, no other choice. He had no other choice. Now let's take this to the NLT. Jesus knew the Pharisees had heard that he was baptizing, making more disciples than John. So Jesus himself did not baptize. That's so important. So he left Judea and returned to Galilee. So he went from Judea to Galilee. He had to go through Samaria on the way. There's this clip up here, this map. And if you look at this, he's down here in Judea at the bottom, and he's going up to Galilee. This is the road that he took. And it says he had to go through. So in that circle there, it says Jacob's Well, and that's Samaria. He had to go through that. Well, here's the thing, though. In those days, Jews would not have gone through Samaria. They would have taken that dotted line and gone all the way across the Jordan and all the way around to get out of that space. But Jesus, he had something to do. He was prepared. He needed to be there. He had to go through Samaria. I imagine him talking to his disciples. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. Let's check out what it might look like. Jesus was prepared. So when we're talking,
We ate the last of Salome's bread last night.
Very well.
Master, we need to go into town for food.
To mile west.
We can use the gold left for us at the
You
fountain.
will go. Very well.
There's a town about a mile west.
Sikar.
You all go. I'll wait here.
Someone should stay with you. In case.
I'm all right. Meet me at that well when you come back.
get me a drink?
Would you give me a drink?
That's bad, huh?
What?
You, would you?
Did you hear me?
Ask for a drink from me.
That's bad, huh?
And a
What?
woman.
You, would you?
I'm sorry.
Ask for a drink from me, a Samaritan?
Please.
And a woman?
I'm sorry.
You to be alone out here?
I should have said please.
Why haven't you come with others? Why so late
It's
in
not
the day?
safe for you to be alone out here.
Don't women come
Nor
to
you.
the wells in the pool of the
Why
water?
haven't you come with others? And why so late in the day?
Seen with me, so
Don't women come to the wells in the pool of the morning?
Yeah, well, none of them will be seen with me, so I have to come out now. In the heat, as you have so kindly reminded me.
Why won't they be seen with you?
I'd still like a drink of water if you can spare
Long
it.
story.
He's seen what a parched throat will do.
I'd still like a drink of water if you can spare it.
He's seen what a parched throat will do.
Filed by this vessel.
Aren't I unclean to you?
Some of my people say that about
Won't you be defiled by this vessel?
Maybe some of my people say that
Notice how
about
he
your
was
women, but
completely
I
prepared.
don't.
Yeah.
The disciples
What
were
do you
walking
say?
along the journey, and he's like, "Go on," so he could be alone. He went and sat at the well, and they were talking about it. And it says in scripture too, like they hadn't eaten the last night before, right? So he's sitting there and he meets. I'm like, he's literally fasting. He's weary. He's doing his own strength. This scene, this part of scripture shows you that he is fully human. He is weary from the long journey. And meanwhile, he sits there about noontime. And in the clip, you hear him say to her, "Why are you here at noon? They normally come in the day." That's true. The Samaritan women would have normally came in the cool of the morning to get the job done before them, but she likely came in the middle of the day at noontime because she was hiding, because of what other people might have said about her, because of lots of different reasons. And then the fact that Jesus, a Jew rabbi, was talking to a Samaritan woman would have been unheard of in their day. Jews would not have talked to women, period, in public. They would not have talked to their mother, their sister, their wife. They don't talk to women. It would have been against culture. Not only that, but the Samaritans were seen to be the hypocrites, the ones who were kind of doing the religious thing, but they were bringing in their own, like, what's the best way to describe it? Like, their own visions and things, like bringing like hoodoo and Christianity together and saying, "Woo, this is like where the Samaritan people were living." And the Jews were like, "No, we're listening to religious laws and we're doing this way. We do not cross." Anybody around here know, ever been in a space, and I know I have, when like the Christianities, they're like, "Ooh, don't go with those people. They might rub off some bad stuff on you." That's the kind of attitudes that they have in this culture. Like, don't be around, don't talk to them. And Jesus goes there weary. He sits down, completely prepared for that conversation, completely prepared to meet with her. And he says to her, "Give me a drink." And she's like, I love how she just first ignores him. You ever ignore God's telling you something? I love The Chosen and how it like dramatizes things, but it gives you a different look at it and what it could have looked like. And a lot of it is like they take what's cultural and they bring it in there, but that space where she's like, "Well, this is what other people would have say about me." And he's like, "My people might say that, but I don't." Somebody in here needs to know Christians might say that about you, but Jesus doesn't. Jesus is there waiting. He is waiting for that woman at that very moment. He sat there tired from the day, and he's ready to have a conversation with her. And then, we're going to go back into the other part of the clip here in moments, whenever you're ready for that, as we continue in John 4. I'm ready. Not that one. So Jesus is having this conversation with her, and he's going back and forth, and the woman is tired.
Prove it.
First,
Prove it.
go and call your husband and then come back. I will show you both.
I don't have a husband.
First, go and call your husband and come back. I will show you both.
I don't have a husband.
You are right.
And the man you're living with
You've had 5 husbands.
not your husband.
And the man you're living with now is not your husband.
Oh, I see. You're a prophet. You're here to preach at me.
Oh, I see.
One good thing about coming here
You're a
alone
prophet.
is I can
You're here
escape
to
being
preach at me.
No,
Usually the one good thing about coming here alone is I can escape being
Men
condemned.
like you
I'm not here to condemn you.
I've made mistakes.
don't do anything about it.
Too many.
I would
But it's men like you who have made it impossible for me to do anything about it. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain. But you Jews insist Jerusalem is the only place for true worship.
They say that because the temple is there.
And the time is
Exactly where we're not allowed.
I'm here to break those barriers.
you worship the Father.
And the time is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem
to go when
will
I
you
need
worship the
help.
Father.
I've never received anything from God.
Where am I supposed to go when I need God? I've never received anything from God, but I couldn't thank him even if I did.
Anywhere. God is spirit. And the time is coming and is now here that it won't matter where you worship, but only that you do it in spirit and truth. Heart and mind, that is the kind of worshiper he's looking for. It won't matter where you're from or what you've done. Do you believe what I'm telling you?
Until the Messiah comes and explains everything and sorts this mess out, including me, I don't trust in anyone.
You're wrong when you say that you've never received anything from God. This Messiah you speak of, I am he. The first one was named Ramin. You were a woman of purity who was excited to be married. But he wasn't a good man. He hurt you. And it made you question marriage and even the practice of your faith.
Stop it.
The second was Farzad. On your wedding night, his skin smelled like oranges. And to this day, every time you pass by the oranges in the market, you feel guilty for leaving him. Because he was the only truly godly man you've been with. But you felt unworthy.
Why are you doing this?
I have not revealed myself to the public as the Messiah. You are the first. It would be good if you believed me.
You picked the wrong person.
I came to Samaria just to meet you. Do you think it's an accident that I'm here in the middle of the day?
I am rejected by others.
I know. But not by the Messiah.
And you know these things because you are the Christ. I'm going to tell everyone.
I was counting on it.
Spirit and truth.
Spirit and truth.
It won't be all about mountains or temples.
Soon, just the heart.
You promise.
I promise.
This man told me everything I've done. Oh, he must be the Christ!
Hey, wait! You what there? You forgot your
Come see you, man! You told me everything I ever did! Prove it.
conversation with her, he says to her, he's like, anybody, if you knew this gift that I was giving you, you know, I was at this conference this last week, and Daniel Strickling was talking about this little girl who said something, and they were all worried about something, and the little girl turns to Daniel Strickling and says, oh, you don't know Jesus? Have you ever been in those spaces where you're like so worried and stuff, and this little kid's like, you know Jesus? Knowing Jesus is knowing that he's got this, that he's okay, that you can step forward in this, that whatever that is, it's trusting God. We just think about that, right? Trusting the Lord and knowing this gift that he gives you. It's a gift. There's nothing that we can do to earn it, to get it, to do it. In fact, many of us are sitting there hiding in blatant in sin and things in our past, and we're so sitting there looking at our past and looking at our things and hiding and going to places at noon and trying to avoid the crowds. This last week, I was in Orlando, and it was an amazing week. I'm just going to be straight up honest. It was a tough week. I should apologize to my friends. We went to a Kennedy Space Center. Ooh, I did not think we were talking about. And they were so excited to go, and I wanted no part of it. And in that space, but Sam, my husband, was like a little kid, and he still wanted to go, and the others were like excited, and I was trying so hard to be there and trying to hide in my, I don't want to be here, and I was fighting this battle inside my head, and then we were walking around, and it was pretty cool, I have to say, like, to see some of those spaceships, like, live and in person is pretty amazing. We walked up, and I was like, whoa, like, just to see that was, like, it was pretty cool, and it was fun. But as we walked in, we were walking around, and one of the people comes up to me and goes, I love you so much, I didn't sign you up for this thing. And as she's saying that, and as she's about to tell me that, I thought she was going to say, I love you so much, I didn't sign you up because you won't fit in the ride. And it hit like this deep core inside me, and I was like, ooh. And they didn't even say it. Didn't even come out of their mouth. It wasn't even intention. Her intention was, you don't want to do this anyway, so I'm trying to protect you from this space. Like, it was such a beautiful gift, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, all right. And then they're like, we're going to be here for 3 more hours, and I was like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I just need to go to the bathroom, and I need just to breathe for a second. So I walked over to the bathroom, went to the bathroom, and the time I went to the bathroom and walked back out, they were all gone. They all were gone. And I was like, what in the world? And I'm like, okay, maybe they thought I was really mad. I don't know. And I'm walking around this whole center, and I'm walking and walking and walking. And I'm like, I'm texting them, nothing. I'm calling my husband. I'm like, not only did my friends leave me, but my husband left me. Man. And I'm sitting here going, it's because I'm all these things. And then the enemy is coming like, mind you, I'm preparing to speak the next day for just little clips, but like all these spaces. So I'm like fighting these things, and I'm like trying to fight them, and I'm speaking them out, and I'm texting a couple of my friends, and nothing's going through. So I'm like, I walk around, there's like this whole upper level. I went all but into this 3D thing. And I'm walking around, and like, I really don't know. I'm like, maybe they're outside. Because we had this thing, like we were walking, and then we'd wait, and then we'd walking and wait. So we would walk ahead, but we'd wait for each other. Well, I walk outside, nobody's there. I'm like, not only were they not inside, but I'm like, they just left me. And as I'm sitting in that space, I'm like, man, I'm just really an awful person, and I created this and all these lies. And so I started texting a couple friends, and then one of them actually had Wi-Fi on their phone, so they sent me a message, and they're like, hey, where are you? And I'm like, I'm outside. I couldn't find anything. So, we're in here. And I was like, oh. They actually went in the 3D ride, and they just thought that I was Native and they didn't want to do it. So none of them knew what I was going through because I didn't step into it and share anything. I was hiding in my pain and my suffering and walking through the stuff in my mind. And then I tried to share, but I was trying to be there for them and not ruin their day. And man, I think I ruined their day. I know I didn't ruin their day. It was amazing watching Sam and all of them. It was a good day. But in those spaces, like, we hide in the things that we think, and we don't say it out to anybody, and we don't talk to anybody. And really, we're right there in the middle of it. If I would have just said it out loud to somebody, it's just been like they could have spoke truth really fast, and we could have moved on. And it came out eventually, like, all these things happened, and I ended up, the end of the ride, we ended up riding on the things. And the ride that I didn't think that I could fit on, and the ride that she thought she was protecting me from, I actually ended up riding, and I climbed in and climbed out, and I survived, and here we are. So, and it was pretty awesome, but it was such a good day after all. But in those spaces, like, you're hiding, right? Like, I spent my life closing my heart and walking in spaces and not letting people know what was going on because of things that had happened to me, because of things that I was participating in, because of lots of things. And I let the lies and the hiding just died up. I had my first kid when I was 15, and one of my biggest things was, I don't want to have 3 baby daddies because that's just going to be awful. Well, I have 3 baby daddies. But God. And one day, 11 years ago, I was at a retreat, and I was sitting at a picnic table, and he met me there. And he knew everything that I ever did. And this Women at the Well story hits me so much because I feel like I'm her. But I know lots of guys who also been hurt, where he meets you and says, man, I know what you did. I know what happened to you. I know what you're going through right now. But church, we need to be honest in those spaces. Jesus is going to meet us there. Here you see how Jesus met her there in the physical in front of us. But we are thousands of years past that moment, and Jesus is active and alive, and he is living he is here. He is fully present. And we need our brothers and sisters to say things out loud so that darkness can be, Jesus, we talked about that in John 3, right? Jesus brings back darkness. It cannot exist in his face. And we need to speak things out. And throughout the week, I actually talked to my friend and said, hey, this happened. She's like, oh my gosh, that's not what I thought. I'm like, oh, I know. I just needed to speak it out because I didn't need it to create this wall between us or these lies in between us. And if we don't have honest conversations and we don't step into those places, we can't. We have to build those relationships also in grace in those spaces. As the week progressed, I walked through some other lies that were rooted from years and years ago when I was doing ministry, and God met me every single step of the way. My glasses that are so frustrating, they disappeared, literally disappeared. I don't know what happened to them other than I keep saying God did it. I don't know, somebody threw them away and God's like, yeah, he allowed it because I'm pretty sure that he wanted me to see things. And I like to journal and take care of things. He wanted me fully present. I think part of being prepared is being fully present. And when we're prepared, we can be fully present. And if we're not prepared, then we're trying to get busy. So I wasn't prepared to be on that space with them. My heart was not in the right spot. I was fighting being there in the first place. And they had already compromised so much for me because I didn't want to do all these things because they wanted to do it together. And I was like, if they just would have let me stay at the hotel, no, I would have missed out. I would have missed out on a moment that my husband had a breakthrough with God. I would have missed out seeing his childlike eyes, seeing this Kennedy as they showed him the space shuttle that he'd been longing for since he was a little kid. I would have missed that had I just ran away and hid completely. God has so much for us. So much. The woman at the well, I love what she does. She's like, I'm going to tell everybody. That's what Jesus is counting on. He's giving us love and grace. When we come out of hiding, whatever it is, we are holding in bondage. We are holding on. We are hiding things. We are hiding lies. We don't even know. We are hiding things that have happened to us and things that we have done or we're staying in it. And like Jamie talked about a few weeks ago, that we've talked about different things. Like you're hiding in these spaces of like dabbling in addictions and alcohol and comparing and pornography and running around with guys, they're running around with girls, we're doing all these things. We're putting these things in place of a relationship with God. And in that space, we're hiding, we're covering up, and then we're not telling anybody about it. Sometimes we're just hiding in the fact that I don't want to. I simply didn't want to walk around in the Florida sun because it's hot and my knee hurts and all these things, and it's just not what I like to do. But I was so caught in myself, I almost missed a gift right in front of my eyes. Jesus meets people right where they're at. And he says, you know what? I already knew that. In fact, he can give you detail by detail. You see what changed when she knew? She's like, oh, this guy's for real. God knows us intimately. The only person we're not hiding it from is him. And he's the only one who can break through. That can change that darkness. You just see it in her face. The way she's hiding into light. Jesus brings light and joy and peace and patience and kindness. He sets us free. He breaks those bonds that to whatever we're tied to. He loves us so much. Jesus is completely prepared. Jesus is completely prepared then. You keep reading in John 4, and then the disciples come back, and right after that they say, like, you see, I love that she left in John 4:28 says, the woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village telling everyone. When you have an honest with Jesus and you have an encounter with the living God, you don't care about what you're holding on to or even what you need. She needed that water. She didn't care. She wanted to tell everybody about this Jesus guy. She ran right back. And then we keep going, and the disciples are like, hey, Rabbi, eat something. We haven't eaten in 24 hours. Come on. But Jesus says, I have food you know nothing about. He's fully satisfied. Jesus can give us full satisfaction. We don't need to run to anything, to food, to whatever it is that you're saying. In fact, what if you just right now thought, I sought the Lord, and he heard, and he answered. What are you seeking the Lord for? What are you placing in place of the Lord? You keep going on in John 4:34. Jesus explains this to them. He says, my nourishment comes from doing the will of God who sent me, from finishing his work. You know the saying, 4 months between planting and harvest? But I say, wake up and look around. The fields are ripe for harvest. What are you waiting for, church? The fields are ripe for harvest. There's people, it doesn't take long to look around and see. Like, there's people everywhere, and they're waiting for the good news. We carry the good news. The good news. Jesus is good. And he accepts us right where we're at. And he can take away anything and all things. And he wants our heart. Does it mean my circumstances are going to change around me? Maybe not right now, but they will. Because he's going to keep moving. I can only imagine what her life looked like when she went back. She literally ran back into the village to all the people she was avoiding, the people she was so afraid of what they were going to say about her, the people who were telling her that she had all these guys and was doing all these things and she was dirty and she couldn't unclean and couldn't be touched. She literally went back to them and said, let me tell you about my Jesus. Let me tell you about Jesus. He is here. He is now. What are we waiting for? I just spent a week listening to people all over the world, people in Ukraine, and there is probably, he said, there's not a person in Ukraine who doesn't believe in God right now. And we're praying for peace. He said, don't pray for peace. Pray for life transformation. Because Jesus is in business of transformation. Do you guys want to wait for a war here? I don't. He said, don't wait for the war. Be honest with God. It starts with us. What are we waiting for? Don't be hiding anymore. And then look up. Look around. Just speak Jesus. Share Jesus. Like, it's not about what we're doing and how to get it all right. And I'm here to tell you, there's been many times in my walk, I'm like, I don't know how to do this thing. And Sam, my husband, if you know him, is very simple. And he always says, Jesus. It's simply Jesus. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, the only way. He will meet you right where you're at. He's already done. It's finished. We're going to go into back into worship, and Jamie's going to sing a song before we go right into worship. And I just want to ask you this question this morning. Actually, I want to know how long. How long are you going to stay in suffering? If you're in suffering, Jesus didn't come to hate on you. He didn't come to hate the world. He came to rescue you. He came to set you free. What are you hiding? Search my heart, God, and know this week, I remember sitting there on my knees crying out to God and confessing pride. Pride in the fact that I can't do it. Pride in that I want people to know that I can do it. Either way of they're two sides of one coin. What are you holding on? What are you hiding? As she sings this song, there's lots of space up here. Do it where you're at. Get on your knees. Search. Seek the Lord and he will answer you. He will. He'll meet you like he did this woman. All he wants to do is set you free. But you have to be willing to step into that place and trust the living God that he can. If you don't know him, start there. I want to know you, Jesus. If you already feel your heart's clean, I do this every day. Search my heart, God, and know he knows. Point it out. He'll bubble it up for you. If there's nothing coming, whatever, look up. Maybe he wants to use you. I could talk all day, but the only thing that's going to change is Jesus. And I'm here to tell you, I was one way, then Jesus, and I'm totally different. He's changed my life. And the more I'm honest with him, the more I'm honest with people around me, the more that the abundant life is flowing. And you can have fun with your friends, and you can have fun with your family, and you can have, when you're not carrying in all this stuff, bring it to God. He says to cast our cares on him. How much longer, church? Don't leave. Don't hold it. Jesus. God, you are so, so good and so, so faithful. God, I pray this morning that if people are just carrying things and they just need to speak it out, Lord, they will come up here for prayer. Maybe they need to just cry it out with you and be honest with you first. And then speak it to their neighbor. God, it doesn't matter what we've done or where we are. You meet us there, and I praise you and thank you for that. I am so thankful. My past life is not pretty, and I have done things, and I have had things done to me, but God, you have been in all of it, and there's been so much good too. God, I pray this morning that you break through those barriers, that people will release and sit at your feet and say, and let you fill up. You are completely prepared for what they're going to say to you this morning. Meet them there. Do a work that only you can do. And let the ripple effect through Ionia and Ionia County to the ends of the earth, God. You are so, so good. I praise you, and I personally, if nobody else wants to, I am thankful that I can come out of hiding and be honest with you and keep walking. Because you are good. I love you. We love you. Praise you and give you all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.